Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to style the hero section and we are going to try to finish it in one video. So we are done with the HTML part. Let's jump into CSS. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the height, the fixed height, but I'm going to keep the background color and I'm going to provide it with some padding as well. So the padding is going to be padding large, padding L, and we're going to come down here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a different value for the padding bottom. The reason that I'm doing this is because of that arrow that we have, that clip path that we're going to provide. So we're basically going to clip this section so we can make it look like this. So let's just take a look at this in here. So we can see that it is clipped from these edges, from this corner, bottom left corner and bottom right corner. That's why I need to provide some more padding for the bottom so the text, it seems like it is shifted upwards. So in here, I'm going to say the padding is going to be 11.5 rem. So let's come down. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say display flags. All the items, there are two containers. There are two flex items. Now display flex, they're flex items. Within here, one is content and the other one is the image. I want them to be sitting side by side, and I'm going to say space evenly. They're going to be aligned vertically in the center, and I'm going to say flex wrap, and I'm going to set it to wrap. So we are going to use flex to make this responsive. So I'm going to say the gap is going to be 3VW. Save that. Let's take a look at our content. So here is our here is the content, and where is the image? The image is, I think, far on the right. It should not be there. Okay, so let's take a look at this section. Here is our vector. Oh, the image is inserted, but it doesn't have any height and width. It seems like it is shrunk to 0. We are going to fix that, don't worry. So let's move on. We are going to say color. I want the color of the entire section to be the color quaternary. And we are going to provide it with a clip path. Now, clip path is going to accept values in pairs. So the first pair, within any pair, the first value is the value for the x-axis. The second value is the value for y-axis. Now it depends on how many corners you want in your image. So if you have 4 corners, it means that you have a square, right? So if you have only 4 corners, it means that you have a square. So we know that if there are 4 sides, it is a square. But if you want to have 5 corners, it means that there are going to be 5 sides. And then you're going to have a pentagon. So if you want to have 6 corners, the more corners that you add to your clip path, the better it is going to be for you to be able to actually clip it. So you're going to be able to clip it better. So if it has 6 corners, it means that it's going to have 6 sides. And then it's going to be a hexagon, then a heptagon, then an octagon. So in this manner, it is going to go on and on. So what it is actually that we're trying to do here. So we don't want to touch the first corner. The first corner is always the point where x is 0, y is 0, and that is the top left corner, no exceptions, always that. Then from there onwards, it is up to you which corner you want to grab. So I don't want to grab the first corner. I don't want to grab the second corner. I want to modify the third corner, the fourth one, and the fifth one. So let's open up I'm going to say, now whenever you say clip path, you need to provide it with the geometric shape that you want it to be clipped by. So we want to clip it so it would look like a polygon. A polygon is any kind of geometric shape that has a poly number of sides. So poly, like multiple sides. It could be 1 side, it could be 10 sides, it could be 20 sides. Doesn't really matter. So poly, like multiple, it means roughly like that. So the first one is going to be 0 and 0, and you need to separate the pairs using a comma, but the values within each pair, they need to be separated with a space. So 0, 0, that is the top left corner. That is 0 for x, 0 is for y. These values are incremented in percentages. So I'm going to say 100 for x. It means that x is at the farthest, but y is still at its position. So this is 0, 0, but this top right corner, x is at its farthest, but we have not moved down in the y direction, so y is still 0. And then we are going to come down to, now x is still going to be at the farthest, which is 100%, but the y is going to be at 85%. So we are not going to let y to come down as to 100%. This point, that signifies x is 100%, but we are going to cut it short. And how much short? It is going to be 15% short. So this side is going to be y 85%, and this side is also going to be y 85%. So there we go. And then it is this is the fourth position. Within the fourth position, the y is at its farthest, which is 100%, but the x is exactly in the middle. We want the x to be exactly in the middle. So horizontally it's in the middle, but vertically it's at 100%. So I'm going to say 50% and 100%. And finally, now x is going to be 0. So this is here. This is what I'm talking about. At this point we have not moved any in the x direction. Therefore, x is 0, but y is 85% short of its original spot. So I'm going to say x is 0, but y is 85%. Let's save that. Let's come here. And you can see this is the kind of shape that we end up with. Now, it is different for this one as well. We are going to talk about that when we get to its own section. So this is what we have so far. Let's move on and let's actually complete the styles. So I'm going to grab the hero content container. Within there, we have the rating, the title, the paragraph, the trial, and then the getting started part. So I'm going to say flex basis. So I'm going to provide it with a 35 rem, and I'm going to say flex grow of 1. So when there is available space, it's going to grow and it's going to grab all of that space. As far as the children or items within this container, I'm going to say flex direction column. Oops, why do I keep clicking on everything? So here is, you can see everything is in this manner. It's vertical. And I'm going to say justify content. So justify content, which now works vertically, I'm going to say center. And I'm going to give it a gap of 2 rem. There we go. Let's go down. Let's come down. First, let's go ahead and let's grab the vector so we can see where our vector image is. So it is hero-vector. I'm going to give it a flex basis of flex, not flex. Basis of 35 rem, and I'm going to say flex grow. Flex grow is 1. Let's save that. Let's take a look at our changes. There we go. So you can see how this beginning to look like this. The only thing remaining is these parts that we need to style here. So first off, let's grab the rating and let's style that. So I'm going to go on top of the vector hero __ content -- rating, and I can see even though these class names, they look like they're like huge, but in CSS I don't have many comments, except the kind of comments that I separate code. Other than that, we don't really have any kind of comment because our classes are self-explanatory. We don't need really comments. This is the good thing about providing comprehensive class names. So I want the elements to sit side by side, not to be up and down. And I'm going to say space between. I want them to be stretched apart. And vertically, I want them to be in the center. Save that. So there we go. So both of the items are side by side. Let's move on. And I'm going to grab the star and the span. And I'm going to basically style those. So FA-star, This is this icon, and then these icons, they're actually fonts. That's why it's called Font Awesome. Fonts. And what does that mean? It means that all the properties that we have in CSS for styling fonts, all of those can technically be applied on these fonts as well, on these icons as well. That's the good thing. That's why I told you to use Font Awesome and not any other service on the internet. There are like hundreds of services that provide you with free icons, free fonts, but this is the best because when it comes to styling these icons, you have all the control in the world. So let's go ahead and let's grab hero content rating. We are going to grab the text, the span within there. So if you take a look at this, the color of these icons and the color of this 4.8, it is the same color. So I'm not going to repeat myself twice. I'm just going to repeat myself once. And I'm going to say color secondary. Let's save that and let's move on here. There we go. So everything is taking some shape. Now let's grab the paragraph. So I'm going to grab the selector and I'm going to say paragraph. I'm going to increase the font, the font size to 1.5 rem. So it's just the font size is getting bigger. So you can see that better. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the main dash title. There we go. So you can see whenever we want to style an HTML element, we need to select it first. So the font size is going to be calc 4 rem plus 0.5 VW. Let's save that. Immediately you're going to see that it is getting bigger. It just got bigger. And what else do you want to do? So I'm going to change the font weight to 500. This is the thickness or boldness of the font. And the font family is going to be var font family main. There we go. Let's save that. So this is what we end up with. This is what we have. And now this is what we end up with here. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the responsive view here as well. So we can see everything looks the same. The only thing remaining are these little elements that we have. So let's just go ahead and let's style those as well. So for the main para, I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to grab and increase the font size. So font size is going to be var font size S, small. Save that. Let's move on to the trial button. So it is hero content -- trial. I'm going to say align self, not align self, flex start. Now I'm not going to save this so I can explain this to you. So you can see that by default, all elements, they are set to stretch. So they're stretching to take up the entire container. And this usually happens with buttons. So if you want to make this, so in this case, sometimes you might think, okay, that I need to decrease the width. But the only thing you need to do here is actually change where it appears. So if I grab this, where is the container? Here is the container. Let's take a look at the flex for it. So overlay grid, hero content. Let's take a look at that. So you can see that all of these are set to stretch so they can fill the entire container. This is true for buttons, but the text, it goes as far as it has to. Why isn't the para? I don't think main para, did we grab it correctly? ID main para. Let's save that. There we go. Okay, there we go. It is now bigger. There is a lot of content, a lot of text there. We are going to fix that. I think there is some other media query that we need to apply here. So you don't have to really decrease the width. You just have to provide it with a different alignment option. Now everything is, when it comes to this content, I think we have changed the flex direction. So you need to keep those in mind as well. So flex direction is column, and when it is column and when you want to change or bring changes in the horizontal axis, it is going to be align, because column, then the align items is going to work horizontally, but when the flex direction is row by default, align items is going to work in default, which is vertical. So if I save that, what I'm telling it, just go ahead and stretch towards the start of the flex. I'm just moving it. So the default behavior, which is stretch, is no longer that. So let's go ahead and let's provide it with some very quick styling. I don't want to waste too much time here. So it's the padding is 1.5, 2.5. The background buttons, by default, they have some background. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of that. Unfortunately, it's not the kind of background that you would want it to stay. So the border color is going to be var color secondary. And feel free to bring any kind of changes that you want. In case of the colors, in case whatever you don't like about this website. In fact, I do encourage that. So we have color quaternary. This is color secondary. So the color of the text is the same as the color of the border. So next up we have font size, var, this is going to be font size small, and then cursor is pointer, because when we hover on it, we want it to have that hand icon, and then it's going to have a hover effect, so we want it to transition smoothly. That's why we are providing it with a transition. Save that. So from that button, it is now this button. Save that. Let's reload the page. There we go. So it is a little bit bigger than I anticipated. It's not, it has to be smaller like that, but these are bigger. I think they have to do with a media query that I'm going to provide later in this video. So let me just make sure. Yep. Content trial. Yeah, it is going to have with a media query. So you can see that when they are 1500, they look really gigantic. So what we want to do is we actually want to make it smaller when we go to certain amounts. So what happens is that when you go smaller, you want things to get smaller, but not too small so they're not visible. But when you go bigger, which is where the min width actually kicks in, that is at least a value, and then it is going to go up as much as you want. You want them to get bigger, but to a certain limit. So if this website is seen on a TV, you don't want everything to be like gigantic, like monstrous. You don't want to have like a monster kind of website. No, you want them to have like a sufficient size. So this button, it's really big. The text is big. And these two elements, they kind of steal from the importance of our title. We are going to fix that towards the end of this lecture. But for now, what I want to do is I just want to go ahead and I want to continue with styling the rest of the hero content. So let's fix this hover effect. So I'm going to say this is the trial. And I'm going to say hover. So this is a pseudo class. 1: is enough. And when we hover it, I'm going to change the background color to color primary. Save that. Let's take a look at it. There we go. So it changes to color primary. Now, next up, what I want to do is I want to style this, the credit card and the free samples, free templates. Is it free samples? Yeah, samples, templates, doesn't really matter. So they do have one container of their own, and I'm going to style them using flex. So first off, I'm going to grab their container, which is hero content, getting content dash getting dash started. There we go. This styling is the same for the getting content, getting started credit card, credit dash card, and it is also the same for free templates. So templates, there we go. This is called the grouping selector. You can grab multiple selectors and you can apply same styles on them. It is efficient. And we are going to say align items, center, and I'm going to provide it with a gap of 1.5 rem. Let's save that. Let's take a look at it. So this is what we've done so far. Let's go ahead and let's select their paragraphs. So the paragraph is within the credit card and within the free templates. It is the P element, so I'm going to select that P element. I'm also going to select their the icon. The icon is fa-check-circle. I want to style that as well. So circle. Make sure you separate them using comma. And I'm going to say font size. It is var font size of small. So it is S. Save that. There we go. Now they're bigger. But somehow we did not select the circle. So I'm going to say circle. Let's save that. There we go. So these are bigger as well. And the only thing remaining here in this part is just going ahead and providing the color for the icon. So this is a font awesome icon. It means that it accepts all properties that we can provide for fonts. Therefore, if I just say color var, color secondary, and if I save this, and if I come here, you can see that we actually basically changed the color of an SVG, which is really cool. So these look gigantic. Let's move on to our media query section. This was the media query for 800. So I'm going to provide a media query for 1000 pixels. Because when it gets to 1000 pixels, then I wanted to have a fixed size for these fonts. So let's make these smaller. So you can see this is at this point, when we go bigger, I don't want the font for these credit cards, for these button, for this paragraph. I don't want it to get bigger. I want it to be fixed. So I'm going to say at media. So I'm going to provide a breakpoint, if I can spell it correctly, screen, and now I want it to be fixed at 1000 and above. So if it is 1000 and below that, it means that we have a max width of 1000 and we don't want to go above that. But if it is 1000 and above it, it means that 1000 is actually the minimum width. So I'm going to say min width 1000 pixels. How do I know that? It is just I just tested around. I just work with this, and I know I designed this website. That's why I know. I mean, when you get completed and then you go ahead and you change it, you might think, okay, I want to change it at 1100, and then you're right. In my opinion, I'm going to fix this size for the fonts at 1000 and above. So you could do that at 1100 and above. You could provide a smaller font size, and at 1500 and above, you might want to change it. I'm just giving you one possibility, and you don't have to take my word for it. Just learn it and then come up with your own kind of design, with your own kind of idea. So first thing that I'm going to do, this is going to be a gigantic selector. I'm going to grab the main para, and I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to select all of these. So we are going to have the main para, the trial button, the credit card paragraph, the free templates paragraph, the check circle. There are going to be quite a few more paragraphs and links, which you're going to add later. And I'm going to say font size 1.5 rem. So if we go above 1000, you can see that they just got smaller. And that's exactly what I wanted. Now, it doesn't matter how far I go, they're never going to get any bigger. Now, let's go ahead and let's actually make the window smaller. You can see that when we get to 800, and I'm just going to get rid of this. For some reason, my computer is running slow. And we are going to make this smaller as well, so we can see both of them side by side. So I think they look kind of the same. we are going to make them smaller, smaller. So one design choice for you would be when you go small on smaller screen, you might want to get rid of this SVG, but not for me. I want to keep that. So in here, let's just go above, let's go up. Let's take a look at this. We might want to bring this down a little. These edges, they look like it looks like it's flying, but as far as the text is concerned, it is looking cool. So we are just going to make it smaller and smaller. So at this point, they look gigantic. I don't want them to look like this. So because the section is stretching, these values 15% is looking way too excessive. So let's just take a look at that at 390. There we go, 374. Let's take a look at this one. Okay, you can see that these values are already small, and it happens around 870, I would say. There we go. You can see that the values are getting smaller. So around 870 is where I have applied our media query. So let's go ahead and let's apply it and let's move forward with this. So this is 1000. In between 1000 and 800, I'm going to apply that. So screen, and again, this is just something that I do. You can do this or you can come up with your own way. So I think when it goes to 870, I need to change the value for the clip path because it doesn't look good. So I'm going to say the hero section is going to have this clip path. So I'm not going to type all the values. Basically from 85% it's going to move on to 95%. So it's just going to be clipped by 5%. There we go. So if we make it smaller, now you can see that it doesn't look that gigantic. So in here, let's just make this one smaller as well. So at some point, there is another jump. There we go. So at this jump, I think that is, let's just take a look at it here. Okay, there we go. It is gigantic. Didn't I save this? Hero 870. Let's save this. 800 max width at media screen and max width 800. Does it have the ID hero? What is the, or it is just a class of hero? Yeah, oops. So that's a mistake. It has a class of hero. How could I forget that? Save that. Let's come here. There we go. So you can see that now this distance is smaller. So if we go and make it smaller, for some reason this doesn't work. We need to have, I think the padding is smaller in this, in our final design. You can see that the padding is smaller. Therefore, we have some more space there. Okay, at this point. So it is around 500. We are going to decrease the amount of padding because when we go small, we don't really need this much padding. It's a lot of white space. So let's go ahead and let's make it smaller. So this is 800. I'm going to go below 800 and I'm going to say at media screen and max dash width. So below 500 pixels, I want it to have a smaller amount of padding. So it is dot hero. So padding, I just want to fix it. I'm going to say 2.5 rep and it is smaller. There we go. So at this 346, there we go. So it is still something else. This text, it looks big. Let's reduce the size of these texts. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say the star, so FA dash star, and just not to waste your time anymore, I'm going to grab all of the remaining ones and I'm going to put them right here and I'm going to say font size 1.3. So you can see that these are smaller and they do look better in this screen on this size. So we are going to go to 300 and it is going to be 300 right there. Perfect. I think we are done with this. So if we go to iPhone 12, 13 or Pro Max, so this is how this is going to look like. I think it looks cool. This is our current design. Let's go to iPhone 12, 13. There we go. It looks cool. This one looks cool as well. There we go. So far, so good. Let's just set it to 650 and 650. There we go. And let's just increase the width of the screen, and I'm going to set it to 650, and I'm going to increase the width of the screen. So far we are done with the hero section. In the next video, we are going to code the entire HTML of the features section, and I'm going to provide only one video for HTML and one video for CSS. So I just want to make following this entire series a little bit easier. So that's it for this lecture. See you in the next one.